If you've ever played the New York Times Connections game, you know it can be challenging.
That's not it? What? How did I mess it up?
The game's notoriety was recently part of a joke on Saturday Night Live.
Sir, this order will make the New York Times Connections game easier.
And it's about time. Every time it's like, how the hell was I going to get that fourth one?
Of course, this isn't a video about connections. This is about how President Trump has been using executive orders to reshape government and society in ways that no other president has before.
Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders.
Trump's orders have attempted to bar some major law firms from doing business with the government, drastically cut back the Department of Education, shuttered USAID, challenged a common understanding of the Constitution to end birthright citizenship, and sought to reshape requirements to vote in political elections, just to name a few.
I think President Trump in every way has embraced a view of executive authority that is just broader than any other president in modern history.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
What limits are there on executive orders? Are there any checks and balances?
An executive order is basically a written order from the President of the United States that says, I want to do X. And of course, the question for us is whether or not the president can do X.
Jessica Levinson is a professor at Loyola Law School who focuses on constitutional law.
The Constitution does not specifically say anywhere the commander-in-chief or the president of the United States has the power to issue executive orders.
So what is the source of the president's authority to issue executive orders?
Based on Article 2 powers, the chief executive does have the authority to do a bunch of things, like organize the executive branch, meaning telling executive agencies how they're going to be organized, what they can do.
George Washington issued the first executive order. In it, he asked his department heads to advise him on the state of their department's affairs. Every president since Washington, except William Henry Harrison, has issued executive orders. Many are designed to organize and direct government agencies.
The president, for instance, says, EPA, this is what we are going to do when it comes to the Environmental Protection Act.
But presidents have also used them in more substantial ways. FDR wrote the executive order that would eventually lead to the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
We did, unfortunately, have Congress later codify it into a statute.
It was through an executive order that President Harry S. Truman banned segregation in the military, and how President Obama created the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. Then there's President Trump.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
His executive orders targeting his perceived enemies, mandating the water efficiency of appliances, renaming geographic landmarks, among others, have pushed the boundaries of executive authority even further.
If you were to think about this like a graph, I think it would kind of go like this, and then you get to the Trump administration, and there are just more and more complex and more powerful, for lack of a better word, executive orders than I think anything I've ever seen.
Executive orders, by definition, aren't laws. So where do they rank in the hierarchy of legal authority?
It's at the top of the pyramid. It's the Constitution, right? And then it's federal statutes that are made under the Constitution. And then eventually we get down to executive actions.
When crafting an order, presidents typically show their math to signal why what they're doing should be permitted.
Point to part of the Constitution that allows the president to have that authority, or a piece of legislation, a statute that is constitutional that cedes that authority to the president.
Take Trump's executive order on tariffs. It began by citing the laws he believes give him the authority to issue the order. But even if the president cites a law to show he has the authority, that's not the end of the story.
Who gets the final word on whether or not an executive order is in fact legal, is constitutional? It's judges.
Sometimes those judges are from lower federal courts, but ultimately it's the Supreme Court that decides. And then there's Congress. It can act too, if it has the political will to do so.
The legislative branch could say, actually, that's not your purview, Mr. President, and pass legislation that makes clear what Congress's authority is.
And then there's the ultimate check on a president whose executive order use goes too far: elections. Just as easily as a president can create an executive order, a new president can end one.
And it'll all go away.
Our Constitution is really based on the idea we don't want to have a king or a monarch, but also that we want to disperse power. And the way to disperse power and try and make sure that we don't get bad policies is to work together if you want to create some big change.